colleague, our brother, Dr. John Henry Clark.
I want to thank Professor Warfield for the invitation. And what I'm going to be talking about is Africa and the New World, new dimensions in African history, which means a new way of looking at Afro-American history. That means that I will be moving very rapidly over a large body of information, the kind of information that you need to devote a whole semester to. I think I'll begin by questioning the title of my lecture. What do you mean by New World? Inasmuch as the new information on the pre-Columbian presence of the African in the New World tends to prove that there were Africans in this side of the world, in South America and the West Indies, but particularly in the West Indies and parts of South America as early as 500 BC. And the reading of Christopher Columbus's diary and in a work by Walter Van Werthner dealing with terracotta and sculpture in South and in Central America, he dug up the greatest physical evidence of the presence in the Africans in the New World that has so far been dug up.
Ancient Homo sapiens sapiens, modern man, first began to leave Africa at about 60,000 BC. These Africans had two great migrations east. The first OOA migration saw blacks with straight hair taking a route along the coast of Asia and then island hopping across the Indian Ocean to Australia, the Australian Aborigine, see below, and then making their way to South America, the remains called Luzia in Brazil. The second OOA migration event saw blacks from Africa, some with straight hair and Mongol features, see San people below, take an inland route through southern Asia and on up to China, about 50 to 45,000 BC, where they settled. Included with this group were straight-haired blacks without Mongol features, now called Dravidians, who stayed close to Africa, then settled in India and other areas of southern Asia, see below. Continuing on with Zucudian Cave, China, where a Peking man was found. Peking man was found at the lower level. There was also an upper level. The upper cave, situated several layers above Peking man on the upper part of Dragon Bone Hill. This cave was discovered in 1930 and excavated from 1933 to 34, during which time the roof and north-facing opening were removed. Excavations found evidence of human habitation in the cave dating back to 10,000 to 20,000 years ago. The cave was divided into an upper-level living quarters and a lower-level burial ground, while a small recess on the lower level acted as a natural animal trap. Finds unearthed included 3 human skulls and other remains from 10,000 years BP. Luchang Cave. Tangtinian Cave, Luchang County, Guangxicheng Autonomous Region, China, was discovered in 1958. It contained human remains from the late Pleistocene Ice Age, the geological epoch which lasted from about 2,588,000 to 11,700 years ago. Wu, 1959, described the skull as devolving Mongoloid, whereas others described it as Melanesian or Negrito. All analysis of early humans in China agree that the Mongoloid-type humans currently inhabiting the area did not start to appear until quite recently. But here the devil is in the definitions. We know that modern Chinese Mongols are a mulatto/mixed race of Mongol-featured blacks like the San. They are albinos, the albinos of Central Asians, who later became Europeans, and blacks like the Joman in Japan. But understanding just when these admixtures took place requires we know exactly what was meant by primitive Mongoloid or evolving Mongoloid, and how is that different from Eskimo. Not saying that Eskimo are primitive. Continuing with the migrations. Also included with this second OOA group were albinos, blacks without pigmentation, who were probably motivated by a quest for relief from the heat and burning sunshine of southern Africa, and relief from the torment heaped upon them by normal Africans. Even today, superstitious blacks of southern Africa maim and mutilate albinos in the ignorant belief that their body parts possess magical properties, which they use in black. In China, there has been more covering up the fact even the original Chinese called Li Min and the Ainu of Japan were Africans. Also, there are books written to prove this book wrong, namely the African presence in early Asia, China's first dynasty and emperor. Blacks in Asia. China's first dynasty and emperor founded by King Tang, or Ta, who was black. The earliest documented rulership of China was the Shang dynasty, or Chong, c. 1500-1008 BC, which is credited with bringing together the elements of China's earliest civilization. The Shang was given the name Naki, now Black Kaiman, under the Black Dynasty. The Black Chinese established the basic forms of graceful calligraphy that has lasted to the present day. The first Chinese emperor, the legendary Fu His, 2953-2383 BC, was without doubt black, and his African brothers and sisters established government, social institutions, and cultural inventions. They are credited with the creation of the I Ching, or the Book of Change, which is oldest, most revered system of prophecy. It is known to have influenced the most distinguished philosophers of Chinese thought. These African offspring were responsible for the building of China's earth mounds pyramids, which are today mistaken for hills due to their eroded appearance in size. The pyramids in Japan are not made of stone indigenous to Japan. It is said that small black people built them during the Mu civilization. In later ages, they were responsible in 210 BC for constructing an elaborate tomb for Qin Shi. His body is guarded by an army of soldiers warriors made out of terracotta. They are also credited with the building of the Great Wall of China. Quoting the works of Kwang Chi Chong for the Archaeology of Ancient China by Owen Graham, in African Abroad Rashidi makes these 2 points. There is evidence of substantial population of blacks in early China. Archaeological studies have located a black substratum in earliest Chinese history, and reports of major kingdoms ruled by blacks are frequent in Chinese documents. Nile Valley civilization in the earliest Chinese history. Several texts in classical books spoke of these diminutive blacks. The Tuhuli composed under the dynasty of Tihu, 1122-249 BC, give description of the inhabitants with black features. Chinese folklore speak often of these blacks and mention an emperor of China named Li, 373-397, consort of the Han, and kingdom of diminutive blacks in the southwest of China. The sacred Manchu dynasty shows a great strain of black people. Emperor Pui of Manchukuo, direct descendants of the Manchu ruler of China, is most distinctly black. Chinese chronicle reports that a black empire existed in the south of China at the beginning of the country's history. Cheikh Anta Diop, African origin of civilization. The ancient black royal house of China, 1766 to 1100 BC, called the Chang, Shang, contributed mightily to China's earliest known civilization. James E. Branson's African Presence in early, and Joseph S. Rock, The Ancient Noki Kingdom of Southwest China, all detail the presence of black in ancient China. LY Asia, here is my proof. The original Chinese/Asians of China were African/Li Min. The Emperor Xiao Wuan, who is spoken of as being black.